Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
All right. Hey. Welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future. Today, we have a special edition of our podcast. Josh, what are we going to be doing today?
We are going to just be spending some time together, hanging out, catching up.
Man, I love doing this.
We realized that, early on when we started the podcast, we talked a little bit about who we are, how we met, and kind of what we do to get started with this podcast. But since then, we've been really tackling some really good and fun topics. But we thought it'd be nice kind of midway through the year, I guess we're a little past midway, to take a break, just spend some time catching back up with you and I and letting the listeners get a little bit deeper into our lives and who we are.
Yeah, it has definitely been a interesting year, I think, to say the least.
We chose a good year to start the podcast.
So all of those the bold predictions we made for 2020, those are out the window.
Yep.
So when we revisit that at the end of the year,
don't listen to that episode.
Or do listen to it just to laugh at how far off we were, because this was all pre-COVID. So anyway, COVID has taken over the world as far as it's all anyone talks about. It seems like it's all the financial markets care about. It's pretty much what clients want to hear about and everything. So how has the year been for you and your family and your job, and kind of how's that going on your end of things?
Yeah, so for me, as a reminder, I have 4 kids. And in the beginning of this year, so when COVID first started, I had 2 of them in school, 1 in preschool, and then the youngest one is still at home. And so the 2 started homeschooling at the end of the year. I say homeschooling, we were schooling at home, but the teachers provided the curriculum and did all the heavy lifting. And then during that same time, we started working from home as well.
Yeah.
And so, I had my office, which was up in my bedroom, which was the door with a lock that we could keep especially my youngest away. When she knew Dad was home, she wanted to be there all the time. So I was there, and then my wife, who did an amazing job, then took care of doing the majority of monitoring their schoolwork, making sure they're getting everything done, and taking, again, when you have 2 different classes, 2 different grades, and then a preschooler who has their own stuff they got to do, and making sure everybody's on track. It was a lot of work, and they finished well. So that was probably the biggest disruption. Was we all like to have habits and routines, and to have all that thrown out the window was rough. And then heading into the summer, early on, I if you would have asked me, well, I never would have even thought I'd be working from home. But throughout all that, I thought by this summer, we've got to be back to normal. And then sure enough, the summer hit, and we were still continuing through this. And so we ended up having to cancel our vacation down, visit my brother in Texas. So there was a lot of things that changed that just kind of disrupted and threw off this whole year. And so, watching my kids as they transition out of the school year into the summer, it was good that they could get outside, play in the yard, ride bikes, do those things. Mm-hmm. But, it was a different time frame. And, 2 of my kids have birthdays in the summer, so they weren't able to have parties or anything like that, really have their friends over. So it was a change. And then going into this year, my third born was in kindergarten. So now we have 3 full-time school, and our school is doing half days. And so it's been a transition. Now they get on the bus in the morning, and then they're home by 12:30. And then they have the afternoon. They come home with assignments, and they have, certain classes are in person, certain classes are done virtually. And so they have reading and different work they have to get done once they arrive home. And so it is still a transition. And, you feel bad for my kindergartner in that, his first experience in real school, and it's totally disrupted, but he doesn't know any different. That's the plus side. He doesn't know any different. So it's done well. They've all been troopers. So our family's done well. But in general, I never would have imagined all that's come out of the virus and the changes. What about you?
Yeah, it's been interesting as well. So, the ironic thing is that in the middle of last winter, I think it was, my wife and I were like, hey, let's get your office put back together and get it all nice and painted and organized. And so
your DJ booth?
Yeah, I had it all done so I could play guitar in there and practice guitar in there for church music and stuff like that. So it was all done and put together and really nice, and I never planned on having to use it. So then when we were working from home for a while, it was pretty easy transition. I have a nice door that shuts, and my wife Jenna was wonderful to just, play and hang out with our daughter all day and let Daddy get his work done. But it was, totally different than I had ever experienced for sure. But that went okay. And, I think a lot of people think that when you're working from home that like it's just a cakewalk and you can pretty much do whatever you want. I think that's kind of like the impression, but that was some of the hardest like days of working just because there was much going on in the financial markets. Things were changing every hour. It seemed like, so it was a lot of work, but it was good. And we were able to keep on top of things. And I think that overall what the country and really the world has learned is that a lot of things can be done from home. So that's going to change the way we look at things a little bit. But, we're back to the office in a 2020 kind of way.
Yep.
And I think it's a good thing. There are definitely things that you miss about being around people as much as you can.
Yes.
And so it was good to kind of get back into what we call the quote unquote new normal.
Yes.
But some of the challenging things for our family is, my wife and daughter were home all the time, and they're usually out running around doing a lot of things. So some of the things that they needed to do they weren't able to do as much. So that was really hard, especially when things were like shut down.
Yes. Oh, on top of that, working from home, especially for you, you have a really nice setup here in your office. You got multiple monitors, you have all your stuff you need for the research and the analysis. Prior to all this, if you were home, you didn't have as much access to that. Now you could log in and see things, but not to the extent here.
Yeah.
So you were able to separate work from home. Yeah. But when you set everything up at home, there's that overlap. And I think I've heard from a lot of people that the work home situation got blended, which isn't always a good thing, in that disconnecting and being fully invested in your family when it's family time is hard to do. Because the office is just right over there, and if an email pops in or something like that, I can go do it.
Yeah, it was a lot different, and with my the technology setup, it was kind of humorous. So like I have a very nice iPad, and I can access pretty much anything, a lot of stuff if I want to read, but I don't have, I have a 4-monitor computer set up with Bloomberg terminal, and everything's and I'm really quick because I know where everything's at and I have it set up in my office. So then I have to physically, for when we were home, I had to take a trunk load home of computer monitors, a computer and stuff like that, set it up. We were working from home for a long time, and then tear it back down and bring it back to the office and set it back up. So I hope to never have to do that again.
Yes.
Because I looked funny carrying all that stuff to my
I helped
car.
you. I remember that.
It was a lot. So we're kind of, we're into a 2020 normal groove. It was, I think, one thing that's been nice for us is that, obviously a lot of businesses have reopened, so that feels good. Put on a mask and go to the store. It's you can go to the store. You can go to a restaurant. These kind of things are, in Ohio, that's kind of where it's at. You can pretty much do what you could.
Parks are open.
Yeah.
So you can go outside and get some fresh air, but also have your kids play. Go out and do stuff. Go for a walk in the park or, in the woods. We have nature trails around here and stuff. Things like that you can actually do and get out. Because you're right, for a while you were just stuck inside. Because it was February, March. It's not like you needed to be outside for those things. But as the weather turned, that was the outlet that was needed to get the people out and about.
And it was really a big step in the right direction for our family when our church, churches were able to open back up, and that was awesome. So we're loving being back in that and just kind of being around people again. It's just kind of a gift. So that's COVID life.
Well, speaking of that, so you attend a larger church, a bigger church, who had online capabilities.
True.
And so you were streaming prior to this for people who wanted to see it or on vacation or anything like that. Yes. People that are maybe, elderly who's stuck and can't travel.
Right.
So that was great for you. My church is a little bit smaller. We had not done online stuff, and so that was something new. So a positive came out of this. So is we now stream, and we're going to continue to, even now that we're open back up for in-person worship. And that, to me, is a benefit out of all this, that now there's people that can connect live with our service that maybe couldn't before.
Yeah.
So, it's you take some positives out of this whole
thing. Yeah, there's some learning, I think, that a lot of people have had to do, and a lot of it was trial by fire. No one expected this to happen the way it did, and businesses have had to adapt, churches have had to adapt, families have had to adapt, and I think that despite a lot of the challenges economically, or obviously a health crisis. There's a lot of growth in certain areas that has come out of it as well. So trying to look at it a little bit positive. So we've had a lot of episodes so far, Josh. How many so far?
We've had 42.
This is episode 42.
This one we're talking right now we're in episode 42. So you may say, wait a minute, you started at the beginning of the year. There's not been 42 weeks. Now, we did a couple extra ones in there, especially during COVID. We did a couple emergency or whatever you want to call them, special broadcasts. But we're about one every week. Every Thursday is what we're trying to do and hope to continue to do. So
what is your favorite episode so far?
Yep. So I have a 4-way tie, and let me explain why it's a 4-way tie.
So I might as well pick them all.
All of them, really. It's 4-way tie. The 4 that I loved were the ones where we interviewed somebody.
Yeah.
And so we did 2 different book interviews. We did Jess, one of the other advisors here at Hixson Zuercher where we work. And then we also did our intern, Maddie, for a college edition. And I love bringing someone else in to talk with us. It's just fun because they're passionate about something. That's what, so for instance, Maddie was the most recent one that we did.
Yeah.
And she was an intern. She also was a college student. And we talked to her about, hey, what would a college person have questions for?
Yeah.
And she brought in some great questions and we worked through it. So I just love that because, those are, again, going back to we're always asking you guys for topics that we would rather talk about the things you're interested in than something that we think about.
Right.
So to me, those were always fun ones because those are things that came up that someone was passionate about and we could spend some time hearing about that passion.
I think we actually had 5 because Adam, our CEO,
that's right.
was on
Adam did a
for
COVID one. That's right.
So, and then the 2 book ones we did Joe Sangl, 2020 Money.
Yep.
And we did Ben Carlson.
Yep. With the bubbles.
Oh, about asset bubbles.
Yes.
That was really don't fall for it.
Yes.
That was a really good one. So yeah, it's been a good year for episodes. So out of those 42, I would say that my favorite was the autonomous vehicle one.
Okay. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one, and
that was our 007?
I think it was 007, and I got to roll in like a James Bond theme into it. So it was kind of a fun one to edit and put together, as well as just if that episode was actually recorded before Tesla went bonkers, which if you have not been following Tesla stock, it's been like a rocket ship since that episode got everyone's interest started. Yeah, since Elon Musk. So that was a really fun episode to put together. But statistically speaking, because I can nerd out sometimes, our most popular episode outside of the trailer has actually been episode 5, which is dividend investing for dummies.
Okay.
Dividend investing is something that we're very passionate about.
Yep.
So that's kind of a cool thing so far. But other statistics about our podcast is that thus far, so we're 42 episodes into this, and we've achieved nearly 6,500 downloads already.
That's amazing.
On these episodes. And we're thankful for all of you guys listening each and every week because we couldn't obviously do it without you.
And it's exciting for us to see that number grow, meaning that's more and more people that are finding it. And that's more and more people, hopefully, that are getting a little more insight or knowledge into some of those investing topics.
Yeah. And we actually have listeners from all over the world, which is something that's really exciting to us.
Yep.
So obviously, we're based in the United States. We're based in Findlay, Ohio. So we have a lot of local listeners and a lot of people from the United States. But we've got listeners from Australia and Canada and France and Brazil and other places in the world that it's just awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of those are consistent weekly. I mean, it's, the same
True.
people
exactly.
continue to listen. So shout out to all you outside of the U.S. We're glad you're listening.
So, Josh.
Yes, I think it's time to take a break. And this is, again, maybe we should ask what our favorite dad joke is, but let's do a dad joke of the week and a special one here for you. And so it's just a thought I had, okay? So kleptomaniacs.
Yeah?
All right. They
tend
to steal things.
Okay.
All right. So they're people who steal things. Now, you can't tell
habitually.
Yes. They just have this thing. They always are taking things. So you can't tell a pun to a kleptomaniac because they take things literally.
They take things. That's
literally.
funny. Literally. Wow. Okay. So I learned what a new word meant. Now I know what a kleptomaniac
I can't spell it, but I'll tell you what it means.
Yeah. And now I hope you guys tell these jokes to your friends just to get a good eye roll because they're classic.
That's right.
They're classic.
And I will say my favorite dad joke. This is only because it was my son who told it to me first. Was
the motorcycle?
The motorcycle one.
Oh,
that
classic.
is, I know. That's my favorite one.
Go ahead. You might as well say it.
Why couldn't the motorcycle make it up the hill?
Josh, I don't know.
You do know, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Because it was too tired.
Too tired. And that's so funny and so fitting because I am a motorcycle enthusiast.
Yes.
And in 2020, that's something that has not been off limits.
That's right.
So,
because you got a face mask.
I wear a helmet all the time. But I guess that's kind of a side personal note is that the weather's been generally very, very nice this year. So I got to take we're going to talk a little bit about vacations.
Yes.
And we can go ahead and do that next. But so one trip I took was in early June, went down to North Carolina, kind of in the Asheville area, the Black Mountain area, with my dad and my uncle, my cousin, and we took a motorcycle trip, and we just went around the mountains for a few days, and it was really, really awesome. And we try and do that about once a year, but the weather was just great. So it's been great to be able to get out and do that. It's something that you can do in COVID world. And my dad and I have been riding our dirt bikes a lot again this year, and that is so awesome. It's just so much fun to get out, and you get to definitely work out. Mm-hmm. And you get to enjoy, being outside in the woods and nature, and it's just been a blast. So that's something that has not been cut off.
Yeah, you had a nice bruise from one of those trips you showed me.
Yeah, you don't stay up on the dirt bike all the time. So, Josh, how was vacation for you this year? What did you do? Where'd you go? What'd you eat? That's kind of a key thing.
What I eat? Yeah,
I'm hinging on.
We did 2 trips, one with my parents and then one with my wife's parents. It's great that we're able to go on trips with them, and we've done that in the past. My kids love it, seeing the grandma and grandpa and being there with them. With my parents, we did, with everything going on, you got to kind of rethink what you're doing. And again, we were going to hopefully go visit my brother, and that we had to readjust that. So we actually did a camping trip because, what's fun with camping is you set up your own little spot and you're kind of distanced just by default. And so we went camping with them, and it was great. We did a lot of just hanging out. There was a river there you could go tubing in, and so you just kind of float down, and it was awesome.
Favorite thing you ate while camping?
So we we cooked out the whole time. So we brought food to eat, and we did 2 things that were fun, that cooked right over the fire that I enjoyed. One was, and this brought me back to like Boy Scouts, the foil dinners where you put everything in a foil pack and then throw it in the fire and just let it cook.
Anything with a stick of butter and it'll eat.
Yeah, just go. It's good. So we did that, and it was kind of a mixture of vegetables and some sausage and a lot of good stuff. It was really, really good. So that was just fun because, brought me back to, Boy Scout, Cub Scout days where you're
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, when I was younger. But that was, that's always, to me, that's like a camping meal, right? And then the second one was we did pizza pies where you
with the little cast iron clamper
little
thing?
cast iron clamper things, and so for the kids, so much fun. They get to put the little things in there, build it, and then hold it over the fire and cook it. And it's just bread and pizza sauce and cheese and pepperoni in there, whatever you put.
Make that tonight.
But it's like just because you're cooking in a fire and you're out there camping, it just makes it that much better. So those are the things that make it enjoyable. Now we were there during my oldest daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
And so we ended up bringing a cake and celebrating one night there. So we didn't make that there over the fire, but we had it, and it was very good. So we enjoyed that.
Is that how the Uncrustable was created?
You wonder.
Because
that's what it is.
Thing.
It is.
Oh, those are so delicious. We were talking about so it's fall now. It's starting to cool down in the evenings. We were talking about having a bonfire, and I think it's about that season.
Yeah. So that was a fun weekend trip we did with them. Then we also went just recently, as states were opening back up, went down south to South Carolina with my in-laws and my brother-in-law and my mother and father-in-law, and we went to a small little island, and it was great. Again, this is kind of how we've always vacationed, but it made it that much easier in 2020 is you rent a house that's professionally clean. They had the whole fun thing about why that is all clean now, but you go to the beach. They have a pool at the house, and so getting back, I think I spent less time around people on vacation than I normally do just here in town.
Right.
But it's same thing. We ate dinner together, and just for the kids, for me and the kids, it was great because it was just so much time with them on the beach and in the pool. And we did what do they call that? There's a term for it, like a southern broil.
Oh, where they boil everything?
Oh, yeah. So it was crab legs and shrimp and potatoes and corn and all that, with the seasoning. And yeah, so that was good. That was probably
Any donuts?
Really good meals. There was no bakery on the island.
So you went a week without donuts?
Did not. Yes.
I thought you looked thinner when you got back.
I did not. I did bring a ton of snack food, so I made up for it with every other thing of junk food you could think of. But there is no bakery on that island.
Okay.
Yes, they did have ice cream, which the kids loved.
Yeah.
And but other than that, that was our what we did, and again, just disconnecting, spending time with the family. That's something you and I. It helps refresh you and get you. That's motivates you back to why part of why we do this is one, for the enjoyment. We love what we do, but the other one is it's for the families, and to be able to reconnect is always great.
So as you were coming home,
we crossed paths.
Crossed paths at some point because I was also headed to South Carolina. So my wife and our 3-year-old daughter and I headed down not with, because we were in separate cars, but with her parents, and we went down to Hilton Head for a week. And we had a nice condo right between the pool and the beach. Like, it was awesome. And so we went down to the beach for a week, and I got sunburnt, so I'm still peeling a little bit from that. Hard not to.
You got to sit in the shade. That's where it's at.
I know, but I was like, I'm gonna get my money's worth.
SPF 50, baby.
By the end of the week, I was putting
that's my default.
Do you have SPF 150?
Yes. You just start with that. Just put on that like a paintbrush and just roll it on.
But it was a lot of fun. So we were down there for about a week, and we ate a lot of food. We spent a lot of time at the beach. Favorite thing I ate probably was I ate a lot. So I love seafood. My wife's not a huge fan of seafood, and you can't really get great seafood up here. We live. It's
in Ohio.
It's not seafood.
Yes,
there's no sea.
You can get fish, but you don't get seafood.
There's no sea, so we're by the ocean there, so you can get seafood everywhere. So we went to Salty Dog, which is very famous.
Yes,
got a shirt.
Good
of course, you got to do Salty Dog shirt, and I had grits and shrimp, which is like a staple down there, and they call it the Flatland or something like that in the marshes.
Yep,
it was so delicious. But I also had some swordfish and some flounder. That was just top notch stuff. So I ate my weight in food that week, but it was a lot of fun, and we got back. Like you said, it was just good to get a week away and be refreshed. It was really nice to go with my in-laws because Jenna and I were able to get away and have a dinner.
Yeah.
Just the two of us, or, we could in the mornings, usually, at home, we get up and run or whatever, but we have to alternate because one of us has to be home with my daughter, and my dogs can't watch her.
Well, they can. They'll just watch.
Yeah, they won't do much. So we alternate in the mornings really early. But on vacation, we were able to go running together or whatever in the morning on the beach. And then, my in-laws would be there with my daughter. So it was cool.
Who's faster?
It depends. I feel like on vacation, I was much slower, but in normal life, I'm faster.
Okay.
But my vacation body was dragging from all that fish.
Yeah.
But one of the coolest things that happened throughout the week was we were on our way back to the condo from our run. And, off in the distance, I saw a dolphin, which is really cool. Not uncommon. There are dolphins all around. But it was the only one I saw. So I was like, that's awesome, dolphin. So then we keep running, and we saw more and more pods of them, kind of like as getting closer to shore as we got closer to our condo. And by the time we got to where we were going to turn to our condo, there was a pod of dolphins fishing in the shallows 10 feet from shore.
It's crazy.
And so it was really, really cool. And I'd never seen wild dolphins before. So we saw wild dolphins, and we can check that off the list. So that was probably one of the coolest parts that my wife and I got to see while we were down there. But my daughter just loved the sand. We did have, multiple times at the beginning, we're like, no, you cannot eat this. This will not taste good.
And that's why just try it.
But that won't prevent a 3-year-old from trying.
Yes.
So, but it's great. So now we're back in the groove, and we're just getting stuff done. So it's been pretty good. What about your kids? Any other activities going on this fall?
Well, here in Ohio again, where we're at, they are allowing outdoor sports. So, again, my 3 older kids are all playing soccer right now. And so that's always fun. They're enjoying it. They're being able to go out and play. There's certain rules they got to abide by, wearing masks on the sidelines and all that fun stuff. But, to be able to get out and play it's been good because all the spring stuff was canceled. So it's, been a little while since I've been able to participate. So that's been good. And then, in general, it's so my third, he's 5, and he learned how to ride a bike a little while ago, but the training wheels were kind of iffy, and then wanting to keep up with the older kids, he's like, I got to do this. And so we took bikes when we went down, and so they were able to ride on the island, and he's been really liking that. So having, be able to go on bike trips and stuff has been nice to have one less person on training wheels that you have to worry about.
We rented bikes down there on Hilton Head, and it was funny because then we got a kid seat for my daughter, and we put it on my bike, and we were going down, and first of all, she did not like a helmet. No 3-year-old likes being in a helmet, but she has this amazing bunch of hair, so I think she's probably just like, Dad, this is my thing, don't cover up my hair. And then I covered it up, and she got mad. So she was like kicking me as we're riding bikes for 5 miles. But I don't know.
Maybe she wanted you to go faster. Maybe that's what it was.
She has
it
a
might
need
have been
for
faster.
speed.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we go for a walk about every day after dinner, and if I'm not walking fast enough, she's like,
she lets you know,
Dad, gotta get it done.
Let's go.
So
the wind's not blowing in the hair. Let's go.
So soccer, lots of soccer.
Lots
going on
of
for
soccer.
You.
That's like an every night thing.
What about your dog?
So we got a dog in February, prior to everything shutting down, pre-COVID. Really, it was we got a dog. We had a dog before and it passed away, and so we got a new one. It's a Bernie Doodle, Bernie's Mountain Dog Poodle mix. Got this little puppy, and then COVID hit.
Puppy.
Yeah, well, it was a little puppy when we got it. Then COVID hit, and the kids are home, and so this little dog gets the whole family there all the time. I'm working from home, and this dog's just there loving it. And the little puppy's now a big puppy.
Oh yeah,
85 pounds.
We'll put a picture in the post.
We should. He's 85 pounds. He's not even a year yet, and
that's so crazy.
Yeah, so he's loved this whole summer, and now that the kids are back to school, he is so confused. My wife tells me, like, when they leave, he just wanders the house. Now, my youngest is still there.
Yeah.
She's 2, and they interact, but in a violent manner from a 2-year-old, like, just tackles them. And he's a great puppy. He's very good with the kids.
Yeah.
But the older ones are the ones he plays with, fetch and all those things, and they're gone. So he just wanders the house lost. So, it's been a change for him. He wasn't used to it. But he's great, very strong dog, and they're work dogs, and so they pull, and they're very, very muscular. So the other day he was sitting on the couch, which getting on furniture is kind of that thing. I guess it's my fault. I let him on there once, but anyway, my wife could not get him off the couch because he decided he wanted to be there, and he was not moving.
Yeah.
He was sitting and saying no. So it was just funny to watch.
That is funny.
Yes. What about you? You have dogs?
Yeah. So we have a 3-year-old. Is he 3? 4? We have a 4-year-old King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. His name is Samson.
Because he's huge and strong and mighty.
So I thought of this name. His name is Samson because he's huge and strong and mighty. Actually, he's funny and lovey and couldn't bite anything if he wanted to. And he's very small. He's like less than 20 pounds. So he's 4 years old. And I was trying to think of when, backpedal to when we got him. So I think he's 4 now. And he's cute and fun. And his middle name is James. Because when we got him, LeBron James was playing for the Cavaliers.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a Cavalier King.
Makes sense. Cavalier.
His name is Samson James Wilson.
Makes sense.
So that's Samson. He's funny. He's pretty much been raised. So we never had any formal training for him. He's pretty much been raised by his older sister. So he's kind of got some Australian Shepherdisms to him.
Yep.
So we also have a 13. That's old.
Old dog.
13-year-old Australian Shepherd named Sophia. And she's so sweet. And she's really beautiful. And she's got the Australian Shepherd eyes, blue and like half brown. And so she's gorgeous and amazing. But she's really old. So she's going deaf. And I've always thought that she had like, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes on a podcast, but quote unquote selective hearing or whatever for me. And like if I call her to come in the house,
maybe if I went.
But now I'm like, nah, she just totally can't hear me because I can come down and let's go out and running or whatever in the morning. I come down and into the kitchen where she sleeps, and I can come up right next to her.
Nothing,
no movement. I'm like, are you breathing? So that's Sophia. She's 13. She's old. We call her Granny. She's starting to get to the point where she's not loving stairs any really steep stairs anymore. But she's so funny. So those are our dogs. They're doing good. We like to walk them every day.
Yes.
When we take our walk, which is we do a couple mile loop around our neighborhood. So we take our daughter and our 2 dogs, and we just look like this crazy family going down the street.
Family go for a walk.
So we have a lot of fun.
All right. So that's just a little catch up to what we've done, where we've been this year. Now turning towards kind of looking forward.
Yeah.
What do you have from a goal standpoint? Anything you're hoping to accomplish in the near term?
Yeah. So actually, at the end of this year, everything's been postponed, but I will be sitting for my level 2 of my CFA exam.
Wow.
And so I've been studying for that, and that is, it's not super easy. It's pretty challenging stuff. And it's comprehensive. There's just a lot of stuff there.
It's very difficult.
I'm looking forward to continuing that process for that certification over time. And personally, just trying to get a good balance of getting the things I need to get done at work, but also being able to be there as my 3-year-old daughter grows up, because she just loves being home, or she loves it when I'm home. So just getting to spend time with her is kind of the main thing for me. So kind of a balance of all of that, but everything's going pretty good. What about you? Any goals going on?
Yeah. So for me on the advisor side, I got my CFP, Certified Financial Planner designation this year, which was a couple years in studying and taking the classes and taking the exam for it. And then prior to that, there were some other educational things I was doing. So it was kind of that break, and that's where I'm at now, which, not that I stopped doing everything, but I'm not targeting any, especially designation, anything like that right now. And so what I've been trying to do is take what I learned in that and say, okay, where are the weak spots? What do I need to learn more about? And so that's when focusing on some of those planning features that we do in full financial planning, say, okay, which ones would I love to learn more about? Mm-hmm. And I've been taking courses and some educational stuff on just specific topics, which has been good, as I'm slowly getting better and better at learning all those different pieces. And as everything changes, this is a great year, as tax law changes and all that fun stuff, making sure that you're aware of how that impacts everybody has been good. And then personally, as everything's been going on, kind of what you said, it's that focusing on, okay, what do I do now that takes up time that I could be doing something better with my time? And so reevaluating that. I serve on some boards and stuff, and just checking to make sure that each of those things with the priority and the time is something that I enjoy doing. I'm coaching 2 of my kids soccer right now, and which I love coaching. It takes up a lot of time. Yeah. But if I prefer to do that for my kids and for the other kids on the team, what are the other things, just to make sure that I'm being balanced and everything that's there. So the reevaluation and being stuck at home for COVID kind of give you appreciation for family time as well.
Yep.
Because again, when you're doing a lot of stuff, you can spend a lot of nights rushing around and miss out on just family time. So making sure we keep that going as well.
And we've all only got 100%.
Yes, that's right.
So our families,
yep,
big portion of that. Yep. So yeah,
I always joke with my wife. I said, when I go 110%, that's why I need some rest every once in a while. And so
that's why you need
take that 10% from somewhere else in the future.
It's a nap. It's a 10% nap. So overall, it's been a choppy year, to say the least. Then, the market fell apart in March, down bear market territory over 30%, rebounded to all-time highs, and now things are looking a little uncertain again.
Yes. Yep.
How are you, or maybe I should say, how are you and clients, feeling about the current situation, the current markets, the potential for some continued volatility? As in case anyone didn't know, there is an election coming up.
That's right.
It's
coming up soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, it's kind of a twofold question. So clients, there is that uncertainty, and heading into this year, even prior. So last year, people were already talking about the election. They knew it was going to be a year of some volatility, and then COVID happened to really just turn that dial way up. And so having been through that shortest bear market ever, right? Or fastest. However you say it.
Both.
Shortest,
it was
fastest.
both.
It's everything.
It was the fastest drop and then the shortest recovery.
Okay. So that was probably, brought to reality some of people's concerns about volatility. And so we spent a lot of time with our clients talking through that and the what ifs. But the thing I like coming back to is, the financial planning aspect. Although there is some shorter term stuff that happens, a lot of it is longer term planning. We're looking not only just for what's happening now, but preparing for the long-term future. And so having that conversation saying, okay, yeah, there is volatility, but there's always been volatility. And what we're looking for is, what is your retirement going to be like 40 years from now?
Yeah.
You know, those type of questions saying, okay, yeah, markets are going to go up and down, and they're going to continue to go up and down, not only up till you retire, but while you're retired.
Yep.
So let's talk through that, work through that idea. So for clients, it's making sure the focus is on the right things.
Right.
And then for me personally, I feel like I always do, in that I like that you're doing a lot of the research and the analysis stuff, because if you ask me today or tomorrow, what's the market going to do? I don't know.
Yeah. But
it is that short term versus long term.
Right.
I like to focus on the planning. I like to focus on those aspects that we can just say, okay, let's kind of mute the noise for a minute and just say, going back to when we were talking with Joe Sangl about the 2020 money, it was the idea that, setting those goals, thinking, getting your mindset at least to think outside towards those long-term goals, that's huge. And so I'd rather have those conversations. Okay, let's start dreaming and let's talk through and then work backwards. What do we need to do now to get there? And so to me, that's where my passion is, and also where you can get progress done, because you can get so caught up in everything that's happened now, you can just freeze. You can have that what they call analysis paralysis, where you just spend so much time thinking through it, nothing happens.
Yep.
What about you? Because you are deeper into some of this stuff than I am.
Well, I'm going to burst your bubble, and I'm going to tell you that might be a surprise, but I don't know what's going to happen the next day either. Man, I know. So now you think less of me. But no, for real, it's been interesting, and I think that anyone that claims they know what is going to happen should immediately be questioned.
Yes.
Because there are too many unknowns to know for sure.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Too many unknowns to know.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah. So I think that what happened in the sell-off in March told me that investors anticipated that things were going to be bad. And then we saw, it was bad, but it was bad, but with an explanation that we can get our mind around, and a lot of support from the government.
Yep.
So that sent markets back up. And maybe, virus numbers weren't as bad as feared. The economic shutdown wasn't as long as feared. Those kind of things came in. So that kind of sent the markets up for a long time. And the markets were up really, really strong, into the end of August at least. Mm-hmm. All-time highs for the S&P 500. All-time highs for the NASDAQ since like July or June. Like craziness.
Yes.
So what happened, I think, is that they oversold, which caused the big bounce. But then people overbought, which is causing some of this
like a pullback,
big pullback we're seeing right now. NASDAQ's down huge but after huge run up. So I think that things are just, and that's typically what happens in the markets. They go too far one way and they go too far the other.
It's like a pendulum.
And
swing back and forth.
There's like a rubber band effect.
Yes.
And overall, the economy is still in a tough shape, but getting better. It's healing. Yep. But I think there's a lot of uncertainty with the election that's going to bring some volatility, regardless of, your opinion on how that's going to go or who should do what. It is uncertainty.
Yes.
So we've got uncertainty around that, as well as we're seeing some continued, impacts of the virus, not just in the U.S., but some resurgence in Europe and things like that. And I think that that's causing a lot of investors to just kind of go, maybe this isn't quite as rosy as we had made this out to be and the way we had let the markets get. So they're taking a little bit of profits, I think, at this point. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that we're going to see a lot of ups and downs of some decent magnitude, probably until into next year at least.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say
that's a good prediction for 2020.
I'm not going to say it's going to be up. I'm not going to say it's going to be down. I'm going to say you're going to have a fair bit of both.
Yep.
I'm going to say, though, that we have seen some significant support from both the monetary and the fiscal side of government intervention. Yeah. So our financial markets are, despite equity markets selling off once in a while, they're healthy. They're stable.
And that's a normal part of the long-term process. This isn't the first time markets got overbought, which caused a sell-off to bring it back down closer to where they need to be. So it has nothing to do about the health of the overall economy, like you're saying. There's the underlying is our government stepped in to support on the recovery and have done so to bring the economy back heading in the right direction.
I mean, the government was pretty much saying, you guys, people in the economy and companies in the economy did not cause this pandemic. So let's not penalize you for what is happening, because no one can control that. So the government is helping out. I think that there's going to probably be some form of additional continued help, whether that be through, obviously we're going to get continued monetary policy, through quantitative easing, through interest rates being at zero pretty much forever. Not forever, but for a couple years anyway.
They're not showing any time soon.
They're going to be low for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of fiscal aid, because the small business impact, like obviously you're seeing big companies continue to make huge profits, and these tech companies are just growing and growing and growing because their businesses can thrive in this environment. But the small mom and pop shops, they are not doing so hot, and they've been more impacted by some of the shutdowns than some of the bigger companies. So I think that some aid for those is probably what's needed next in the next round. But these are all things that, again, if someone claims to know what's going to happen, they're crazy, because this year is one year that you really can't call anything. So all I can say is that we're keeping a close eye on things, and it's this kind of stuff happens, and this kind of stuff works itself out. Even pandemics happen. We've not seen numbers like we've seen on this as far as an economic impact or stuff like this, but we've had other pandemics to different extents over time. And those have all been put behind us. And we have much better medical technology than we did when those other ones happened.
Yep.
So
now, you wonder what some of the lasting impacts will be. I had this conversation with some friends, but do you think our generation will consistently own more toilet paper than we need going forward in the future? Like, will that be one? You think back to like your parents and grandparents who went through other events where they did things you just looked at like, why do you do that?
Right.
And it was just from that upbringing that certain things just triggered in their mind.
Those people who lived through the Depression.
Yeah. Saving, reusing everything, all those different mindsets. Now for us, it's always, I need an extra case of toilet paper in my closet just in case.
Oh, man, I do not know. All I can tell you is that I've not run out of toilet paper yet, and I've not been a crazy person who bought it all.
Yeah, but I have a household of 6 people, and
I know, we don't use as much.
You need a lot of toilet paper to keep, and when they had like the restriction stuff, like 1 4-pack per
You're like, that
person,
lasts a day.
Can each of us and my family come in and buy one? Because we need some.
That is one of the biggest surprises of 2020 is that it's humorous.
Yes.
Because that was a classic example of overdoing, like the reaction of stockpiling, because in no way, shape, or form was the grocery store going to be deemed unnecessary or whatever. So you were going to be able to go to the store. Yeah. If people wouldn't have done that, you would have always been able to get your normal amount. Yeah. So that's one of the funny things.
Weird, but it's worth wondering if in the future there's certain those type of things. Because there's always like, we're here again in the Midwest. You get a snowstorm, you got to go out and buy your bread, you got to buy your milk, got to buy your eggs, because those are the things that are perishable.
Yep.
But you never I got to hurry and go buy toilet paper.
Nope.
Maybe that'll add to the list, though.
Maybe it will.
Worth looking.
So that is how, in the nutshell, I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I really don't know what I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen, and I'm okay with that, by the way.
Yes.
And I think that we all should just say that we know that it's going to be interesting. We know that it's going to continue to be interesting, and the data is going to continue to evolve. But over a long time frame, I'm talking decades, the U.S. economy will heal itself. The U.S. economy will grow, and the companies that are participating in that economy are going to get better and stronger, which means the stock market will go up over time.
Yes. And that's what our whole economy is built on, is the innovation and advancement of our companies, of coming up with new, better ideas. Yep. And so if you believe that will continue, that's what you're investing for. Yep. And that's where we fall in the same ideas. Over the long run, that's where we're going to be.
I mean, when you retire in 25, 30 years, whoever it is, you're going to look back. Obviously, we're going to have funny stories and memories and interesting thoughts about 2020.
Yep.
But when you look back at your portfolio balance 30 years ago, you're going to be like, oh, what's that blip? Oh, yeah, that was COVID-19.
Yep.
So it's going to be okay. That's what we can say. You know what I like to do?
What's that?
I like getting emails. From, I get a lot of emails.
Just make that a blanket statement. I love emails.
I get a lot of emails. No, I like getting emails from listeners with topic ideas.
Do
you like that?
That is my favorite thing. Because again, coming back to helping people, we could pick up topics. We have things that are going on in our life. We say, hey, that'd be a good podcast. Write it down. We kind of have a sheet of list of things we wanted to talk about. But what we always push to the top of the list and make sure that they're there is whenever someone sends us an idea, a topic or a question about, hey, this is what's going on. What are your thoughts? And so please, if you're out there and have a thought or have something going on in your financial life where you said, I would love to learn more about this, let us know. Shoot us an email. You can go to hello@theinvesteddads.com. There's a spot there to reach out to us, to contact us. Tell us your thoughts, your questions. If you do so, from now through the end of October, we will give you a free t-shirt as a thank you for sending in a topic. Now, we do have to put all these little asterisks along there, and the biggest one being it has to be a new topic. It can't be something we've already talked about. So if you do send us a question, we've already talked about it, we'll definitely direct you towards that podcast. But to get a free t-shirt, it's got to be a new topic.
And unfortunately, for our international listeners, which we love and thank you, the shipping costs kind of make this restricted to North American subscribers only.
So if you have a P.O. box here in the U.S., we'll send it there. Exactly. But you have to come get it.
Yeah. So yes, send us an email to hello@theinvesteddads.com with a podcast topic idea. We would love, we read every email that comes in, so we'd love to hear from you. And as always, check out our free gift to you. It's a brief list of 8 principles of timeless investing. These are overarching investment themes meant to keep you on track to meet your long-term goals. Check it out. It's free on our website. Josh, how can people help us continue to grow this podcast and continue to help people through the end of the year and beyond?
Yes. So like I mentioned, email us any ideas at hello@theinvesteddads.com. There's a link on our website, theinvesteddads.com, for you. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Whatever you listen on, make sure you subscribe. That way, every Thursday, you get an alert for our new episode. And then again, if there's a topic that you listen to and it comes up, direct somebody to it.
Yeah.
Help out. Because we trying our best to get it out there, but again, it's really just word of mouth, someone that's looking for some sort of financial discussion that would find us. So share it with your friends and family.
All right. Well, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
Right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.